So my name is Fabiola Larios. I am from Mexico, and I'm an internet artist, AI internet artist. I have a specialty in painting, and then I started like doing collage with Photoshop, and then I started making like video collage, and then I started doing video performance. And well, this is one of my pieces. And well, I don't want to get like into a lot of details, but like I come from this painting, fine art, traditional art school. So then I jumped from the video art then to like AI, and this is one of my pieces. This is Internet Humans. I made it in 2020. This was my first project with AI. It was in Ars Electronica Online and the AI Art Gallery of Neurips, and in Foundation. I sold it also. This is an NFT. So this piece is generated with thousands of pictures of selfies and with filters on Instagram. So I downloaded all the pictures with sorry. ¿Cómo se dice por medio? Through a hashtag. I'm sorry, I'm kind of nervous. So through a hashtag.
Have Spanish too, so you can also go back and forth.
Oh, okay.
Not everyone, but some people.
So I downloaded all the pictures from through a hashtag, and then I train a model to learn the features of the selfies. That's why they have like different angles and the eyes are like kind of distorted. And with the filters, like usually filters on Instagram, they make your big lips and like your skin is smooth and like big eyes and small noses. So yeah, and the things that are like around the face are like is like trying to imitate the filters of Instagram. So it's just like I love this piece, and this was my first piece. And this is another type of AI art. This is reactive art. You can't like hear the sound, but this is with the dial-up from the early internet. So this is just like a NFT, and it's sold in to eat in like in the secondary market. I don't know if you know about NFTs, and or I don't know, like crypto. So to eat right now are like $6,000.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting how to combine AI art and NFTs and like work with crypto and different types of ecosystems in the blockchain. So now Moises is gonna speak.
Thank you, Fabiola. And yeah, my name is Moises Sanabria. I try to encapsulate everything in creative technologies, like no matter what I'm doing professionally and artistically. And this is some of my original previous work. I was more in getting into Instagram and just trying to push the boundaries there of like, you know, how can something be viral or like meme-like? So here are just 3 photos, kind of pushing like the digital photograph boundary of like, what is a selfie if you're using a laptop and creating this custom selfie stick, or hugging somebody in virtual reality while you're hugging somebody in real life. And the last one is kind of this full immersive, you know, pre-metaverse, like cybernetic kind of lifestyle photo. This is more of a commission work. So this is the artist Lindemann, who originally was in Rammstein and doing a deepfake video back in 2019. So training a machine learning model on his face, and then training another machine learning model to do the actual deepfake swap, where all the faces from the original video are now swapped over with Lindemann's face. The model we're using here is a face-to-face model.
What's happening?
And this was the first piece I also used to make an AI artwork. This is a machine learning model called StyleGAN 2, and we can discuss more about it if you guys have any questions. The piece specifically was released when the NFT platform foundation was just being released. And I was really interested in what happens when NFT is tied directly to a banknote. So the machine learning model was trained on like thousands of banknotes, like just internationally. And it learned like all of the different marks and symbols, and it interpreted its own banknotes. And yeah, this piece was also in foundation, minted it. Originally, it sold for 1 Ethereum, and then in the secondary market, it got up to 4.4 Ethereum. So wait, go back. So that right there, this is the main point of what we want to share with you guys is this connection between what you see on the right, which are neural networks and kind of how they are visualized, and on the left, which are actual neurons in the brain. And there's a long relationship there in cybernetics history, but now also in AI art, and how these two are more and more just a collaboration and growing together.
So this part of the presentation is going to be the history of cybernetics in art. It's not just like AI or digital art. It's just like the beginning of the cybernetics in art. So the timeline of AI art is the 1700s and 1950s. I don't know if you guys know who is Ada Lovelace. No, you wanna tell me who she is? Yes, thank you. Okay, so in World War II, sorry, it triggers the first thinking. I don't know if you guys know about Turing and the Turing test. No, so Turing made this machine that it wasn't like a computer, but it's considered the first computer, and it was to through algorithms at that time to figure out the strategies of the enemies in the war. So the Turing test is when someone can decide, or like when something passes the Turing test is when you don't identify if it's a computer or not, the thing you are interacting with. Like if you see a painting and you don't know if it's like painted by a human or by a machine, then it passes the Turing test. You wanna say something else?
Yeah, and just one other note. So as we're learning, for example, there it says 1942, the word robot was first came into play. And even this idea of like the Turing test, like we now have a thing called general artificial intelligence and narrow artificial intelligence. So general is kind of the bigger idea of what AI can be. This kind of like more omniscient, like smarter, more aware AI, versus a lot of what we'll be showing is narrow AIs, things that operate more like a machine and are very good at doing very specific things. Like it could be smart at knowing when you're going to come through the door, or like it could be smart at recycling trash because it understands that specific relationship. But the moment you put these narrow AI in another context, it's again just kind of like stumbling or just not understanding what you're doing. Actually, one last thing. So in this slide, so 1943, that's when we really start kind of operating more directly with the idea of neurons and artificial neurons. A lot of these neurons were cables, were just cables in like this big computer, like a hardware piece, instead of where we're at today, where it's all digital and it's all based through coding and programming. Just going through here, some of the ones to point out is just sci-fi in general, how there's a direct relationship there between like the imagination and where we want to project these robots and AI to look like, whether they are like human-centric or, maybe they don't even have a body. And in 1968, The Space Odyssey was definitely inspiring a lot of the AI engineers that kind of forefronted what we have today.
And in sci-fi, I don't know if you remember that in the 70s and the 60s, when people used to think about like super advanced technology and AIs and robots, like everything had like a lot of lights and buttons, and it made like little sounds and stuff. Like they didn't like they couldn't comprehend or see like further, so they could use like touch screens, like they couldn't like think about it. So as you can see, in 1959, the machine learning term is like literally sorry, a machine with a lot of buttons, and it's super big because before the computers were like super big, and it just had like a little not a lot of space for storage. So this is like what you can see is the really beginning of something that is learning by itself. So
and then just one other thing, so as we have here, the autonomous picture creator, though the kind of machines people were making back in the day that were doing kind of in digital generative work, we're still not AI. And that's still a distinction today, whether you're making generative art or you're making AI art. So we'll slowly start kind of showing you guys what's the difference there. Yeah. I mean, the one I'd like to point out is, to me, it's super interesting that in 2002, the first robot is introduced into the home. The Roomba, even in the slightest terms now, we are cohabitating with these tools, maybe it's like a smart lock system that you have, but even this Roomba, which, is having some kind of purpose, is just slowly letting tech cohabitate with you. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, there was this robot that Amazon is releasing called Astro, where it can look around, it can notify you, it can text you, I'm pretty sure it can even pick up your Amazon packages for you. I know it can, deliver drinks in your home. And big tech companies are slowly finding ways to, create products out of these things and make AI something that just is indistinguishable from your everyday. And that's something we want to open your eyes to, is just how much you're using AI on a daily basis, whether you notice it or not.
And also I would like to point out that Alice was the first chatbot that learned how to speak from the web. I don't know, you can see right now the bots, and every time you get into a website and you get instantly something that is trying to reach you and try to interact with you. So I don't know if you know about this this website that it's called el de no me acuerdo. So no, it was like a match.com, but it was for people that were being unfaithful on the internet. So I don't know if you remember, it was like a super big controversy and this collective made this art piece because, well, they portrayed the figure of the female chatbots that people were talking to, because in the website they didn't have enough women to be unfaithful to the men that were being unfaithful. So they started creating these chatbots that were getting into this intercourse, but this internet intercourse that it was from a chatbot. So when I remember, I'm gonna send her the everything we're saying about art and stuff. We're gonna make a document. So this is the thing that sometimes we don't know if we're talking to a bot or even if it's pretending someone to be just an automated chatbot or something. So I wanted to point that out, and I'm sorry I didn't remember the piece. You want to say something?
One to point out here is in 2012, because so we're doing a little bit of everything, like in the news, like what is AI being kind of thought of, like your man versus machine fight of the 21st century. So having these like who wants to be a millionaire competitions with an AI. So that one is just kind of contextualizing how, it's even in your like TV station and your channels back in the day. But in 2012 specifically, the word like machine learning models are looking at pixel relationships in image and trying to see if a machine can understand those pixel relationships. So here the research scientists are giving it a bunch of photos of cats, and then from what it knows of a cat based on the images it was trained on, then we give it a new image of a cat. And does it understand that it's a cat? Or then if you give it a dog, is it going to understand it as a cat or a dog? And then the self-driving car in 2014 is also introduced. So again, back to this concept of like we're slowly cohabitating more and more with these technologies. I mean, we don't have self-driving cars everywhere yet.
They still don't work. And they even they hit a robot in Las Vegas. It was like the self-driving car was trying to drive into through the street, but then there was like this robot. I don't know what kind of robot was, but it was like, I don't know if it was cleaning or doing something about the traffic or something, but then the car hit the robot because it didn't know, because it didn't have learned before that is not just a person with legs and arms. It's just like the whole robot wasn't a human form. So that's why the car hit this robot. And we're gonna show you also we're gonna send her a document about that.
And one other thing to point out, so ImageNet in that first date in the timeline. So when it says there democratized data, what happens is you need a lot, specifically for images, you need millions and millions of images to train from in order to then create these smart guesses. And ImageNet was the first public database that allowed anyone to train machine learning models, because a lot of the smarter machine learning models, those databases are completely private by the companies. So there's there's an effort to open source a lot of AI technologies and tools in order to democratize the use of it. But at the same time, that the more we learn what these things can do, some of these companies aren't willing to make that public because they're afraid that if everyone can use it, then someone might use it for the wrong things, yada yada. But at the same time, if they make it private, then they're the only ones with that power. And it's just some tension as AI in general kind of grows.
Ashley Madison is the name of the website. Okay, so in 2015, I don't know if you learned or saw the Deep Dream Google tool. So it was really fun to play with and to imagine that you could kind of paint with the colors with pictures that you were uploading to the Google Deep Dream AI. So there were a lot of interesting results, but as everything, it just died in it's not mainstream anymore. People don't want to play with it. And that's the thing about technology and new tools, that every time, every certain years or even months, now with technology is going so fast, then you just start to forget even memes. Memes 3 years ago, are not relevant now. They're not funny anymore. So it's the same with AI and with different tools that you can just play with, even apps and stuff. So this is have anyone here tried the Deep Dream tool ever? No? Okay, well, you should, so you can see what it was before and what is why it's not a thing right now. So it would be nice if you could just experience that by yourself.
Yeah, and another tool to point out is style transfer. So a lot of these are research papers by AI engineers that start just playing with, they're called convolutional neural networks. And they're playing with these pixels and they're manipulating them in certain ways. So Deep Dream kind of allowed any image to create more relationships, whether it's spatial relationships or what is known as a feature. So it was trained on images of faces and animals. And so what it does, it hallucinates eyes where it thinks it might see an eye. So when you give Google Deep Dream an image, it starts putting maybe like this pseudo face of like a cat or a dog or these eyes. And then in the style transfer, which is a little bit the same year, but a little bit before, what it does is it understands something has a style. So like the style of Van Gogh or the style of Gustav Klimt, and it can place the style of an aesthetic into content. So in here, it's just showing you 3 images of the Mona Lisa going through a style transfer between 3 different artists. And then just to follow up here, one super interesting thing is there was this collective called Obvious back in France. And well, there's still a collective. And they sold a piece in that amount at Sotheby's for $432,500 at an auction. And it was the first time an AI artwork was sold for that price. And what's super interesting about that too is that they didn't make the machine learning model. So there's this new just problematic happening where who's the author of the AI artwork? Where does the
and it's also related with AI ethics, that it like is just like building right now the theory about like who creates what, and if the code is open, then if you should use it, and then if you have profit from it, right?
Yeah. So a lot of these coding tools are open source, and whether the credit of the artwork should go also to the developer, it's all kind of up to debate. But oh, right. And from that sale, the authors of the code did not get any profit. It was just the artist. Some other context too. So when thinking of AI art, there's maybe three to four main mediums. So you're either generating text, generating images, generating video, and generating audio. So in 2019, GPT-2 came out, and this was kind of the first accessible text-to-text machine learning model where you could train a model, let's say on Shakespeare, and then it could make new Shakespeare paragraphs, or you can start kind of thinking of like using this Shakespeare generator trained by an AI to make your own custom version. So that one's text to text. There's by now we're at a point where there's this one called T3, which is super smart, and you can have like smart conversations with it. You can ask it how it feels. You actually, in order to have access to GPT-3, you have to apply directly with the company called OpenAI, focuses on open source projects. And then the other tool we want to show you guys, which is what we were working on, is StyleGAN 2. That is trained on a large data set of images, and it can create new images. One famous piece, which we'll talk about more, is This Person Does Not Exist, which was a website, still a website that you can go into and see all these generated results of people that have not existed. And we're at a point where there's StyleGAN 3, which just, it's higher quality, higher fidelity. It can train faster. And then one super big one that's kind of revolutionizing this whole space is Clip and DALL-E. They're in 2021. So the same company, OpenAI, released these two technologies that working in hand together to, like, the concept of an AI hallucinating or imagining is completely advancing. Like, it's accelerating super fast. Like, you can now do something called text to image, where you text these models what you want. In the case here, it was a chair in the shape of an avocado, and it made these results just based on what it understands of a chair and its concepts of what it understands of an avocado. And just through like materials, textures, lighting, you can guide a model to create results for you. And then the last two, a little more technical, but basically Clip is the more important part of the machine learning model, because it's what can understand an image. You can give Clip any image and it'll understand as much as you'd like from it. Like it might say a subject or the color of their hair or where they might be located. And it can do that with any image. And then based on that, people use it with what are known as GANs to generate new images. So you can tell a model, generate a new image. And if that image looks like an avocado and a chair, keep generating that until eventually it guesses like, oh, you know, I am 90% sure that this is a chair in the shape of an avocado. And then it'll go and give you that image.
Okay. Do you want to tell them like the difference between deep learning, machine learning, and AI?
No.
So this is the history of art appropriation. Do you guys know, like, or like, have you experienced, or you know, any cases of artists, or have you done this? Like, who can tell me what is the like art appropriation? Oh, okay, nice. Anyone else? Or someone can tell me what appropriation art is? Yes, yes, thank you. So appropriation is a part of creation, especially in digital art. Well, it has been used from a lot of years. So the first example that we have, it's Diego Velázquez painting of the Pope Innocent X, and then a study of Diego Velázquez portrait of Pope Innocent X, but it was painted by Francis Bacon. So it's almost like it's the same angle, the same position, different colors, and obviously like you can see that the Francis Bacon version is like more dark and creepy. So do you guys want to, like, somebody wants to like mention artists or filmmakers that you could like recall about? Yes. Nice. Do you want to say like what he did? Okay, thank you. Do you want to keep saying?
Yeah, so I mean, in the case of Marcel Duchamp is a good example of somebody that, you know, directly in this case took the Mona Lisa, you know, puts a mustache on it, you know, calls it a rectified ready-made, and because of the way he did it and at the time and kind of this context where he placed it at, he was still able to transcend it into this artwork, even though he appropriated the image completely and barely kind of touched it. And then in 1953, Robert Rauschenberg is playing with similar ideas where he asked Willem de Kooning for an artwork, and he was going to appropriate it. And the way he was thinking of doing that was actually erasing the previous artwork. And that was the case here, where he just completely erased the drawing that he gave, that was given to him, and made an artwork actually by extracting and removing things from the surface. This is a quote about Barbara Kruger, who's very known in this space of appropriation and collage. She would take a bunch of photographs and, you know, collage them in a specific way. So images and words seem to become rallying points for certain assumptions. This is appropriation and reuse because as she takes photographs from magazines and uses them as her own, she uses slogans at the top to put the image in a different context, usually referencing feminism and consumerism.
So in 2008, Shepard Fairey, a graffiti artist, and usually he makes more stencils, he appropriated a photo of Barack Obama, and that was taken by the Associated Press to create his famous hope image of Barack Obama. But he then got sued by the AP because they said that he didn't change enough the picture, so they got into a
Negotiation.
a negotiation, so they could so both parts could get money from that artwork, but at the end Shepard Fairey says that art appropriation in art shouldn't be a problem, like, because he really thinks that he changed enough the picture. What do you think? Do you think he changed enough the picture, or can you relate that it looks like just like the original photo? Change enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
More than 30%.
Thank you. So this is my favorite artist. His name is Trevor Paglen, and he made this piece with Kate Crawford, and it's called Training Humans. So the thing is that he doesn't have, and we wish we could talk about AI ethics. What we're telling you, like our class today, we usually make this like in 6 sessions, so we can like talk about like a lot of AI and the tools and the artists. So this is like very brief of our 6 classes. So he usually gets the data where he's not supposed to get it. Like he doesn't have any boundaries to get where he wants to make an artwork. So he got these mock shots, and then he trained also an AI. But that right now, you know that they don't have like their eyes, because it's a way to censor the faces. So yeah, if you're gonna look for him, it's Trevor Paglen, and I think his partner is Kate Crawford. Actually, I haven't like digged in a lot.
Yeah, and specifically to what there's contention here is that the people being trained in this AI model don't know they're training with their images.
Oh yeah.
So part of it is that it's like all of our data, we might give it on an agreement, or we tell certain technologies they can use our camera, but that data then is going back into the companies training these AI models, either to make a social network more addicting or to get advertising to target you online, and just kind of bringing light to that, and that conversation is there.
Yeah, so every time you upload a photo of you or a selfie or something, you're just like feeding an AI that it's learning from you, and like facial recognition is also feeding from you. And that's why my artwork of Internet Humans is like, it's unethical in some way. And I have been referred, the thing that I did has been said that is from can I say a bad word? No. Yeah, like an asshole. So because you're using like data from people that they don't know they are there, but like right now this data set you can see it, but my data set, the data that I train on is not public, so no one knows if they are in my model or not, because the important thing is what it came out of the model, not what is the input of the model. So. And Paolo Sirio is another of my favorite artists. He made this face to Facebook, and he was selected in Ars Electronica. He made this piece with Alessandro Ludovico. And this is really interesting because he managed to get a lot of pictures from Facebook without Facebook consent, or without this person's consent. So then he created with those pictures. He didn't even train a model. He just took these pictures, and in some way with an AI, he made this like kind of a Facebook, but like a match thing. So by the color of the pictures, then he created these fake profiles and put them like together, like if they were in like a Tinder or something, but like on a website. So he got sued, and even like through the lawyers of Facebook. So this is like one of the things that it's really not dangerous, but you have to deal with the consequences if you use data of other people and then you get in problems, then you have to like deal with it. And if you really stand for your work, well, do it. And if you don't want to, but just don't do it. So yeah.
Yeah, this is, I mean, another artist, Hito Stereo, and she works more in this kind of like, I wouldn't say like abstract documentation. She adds a lot of voices to her pieces. And she's specifically in this installation for This is the Future in 2019. She's training a lot of StyleGAN models on different architecture, on nature. And it's a very immersive piece where she kind of gets you thinking into like what is the future? Where is it that we're going? I highly recommend to look at this piece online. It's on YouTube. This is not an artwork per se, but it's probably the way that a lot of people have gotten in interaction with the StyleGAN model. So if you go to This Person Does Not Exist, every time you refresh the page, you'll get one of these like hyper realistic photos, but it's very specific. It's like the way that the portrait is generated. At a certain point, you can almost distinguish what makes it AI generated or not. And a lot of it is actually by checking the background and understanding whether it's blurry or there's something awkward happening outside of the face. The model was really good at and trained at the faces, but not the backgrounds. And that's why you see a lot more noise and randomness in that area.
So are you like, do you know what furries are? I think everyone knows, right? Okay, so this person, this coder, he started making like getting images from furries illustrations forums, and then he trained a machine learning model, and then he started like getting these outputs that the furry community said that they were like really close to their original illustrations. And the thing is that he didn't sell any of these outputs, but then we can talk about AI again. So the community, like he got like more than 30,000 pictures of different illustrators. So because if you have like so many data, like you're not gonna ask every creator, and maybe they don't want you to use their data, or maybe like you can't reach out of them. So I don't know, like I don't know what you think. I think it's not bad. Like he didn't sell them, he was just experimenting. So that thing is also like important, because if he started like selling them and making more money from that, like the furry community, then I don't know what would I think. But right now I think it's not a bad thing. And well, that's the thing. So this persona does not exist, and you can look for it on the internet. I don't think it has like this website like This Person Does Not Exist, but the project is, well, as you can see, is funny, but for the furry community it's not.
Yeah, and going back to why we're even talking about appropriation and the ethics of appropriation or the ethics of data is actually this, is that it is getting more and more complicated, because now the way that the models are trained is that they're trained on the internet. They're trained on dozens of images that the model is finding online, and then it can make new things that still are similar enough to the things that it finds online. In this example, there is a project called Art Breeder, used to be known as GAN Breeder, and many people can create images there kind of anonymously at some point. And an artist just found one of the images. They were looking at this software, and they download that image and then made a painting. But they didn't think through that the image was created by a user in that platform. And then eventually this person, Danielle, found out that an artist painted an image that they had made.
Like
And
he didn't even paint it.
no,
He
Alexander Revin.
no, he hired
Well, he
people.
hired somebody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't even paint it. He hired somebody to paint the image for him.
From China.
Yes, in China. And now there was just that profit that was made, that was also, there was no credit to Danielle, and there's just that gap there. Like nothing really came of it. I think I think Alexander was kind of like a bit apologetic about it, but he did not feel like he needed to, share the profits or even share the credit, even though there is somewhat of a similarity. I mean, I don't know if this passes, the 30%, test that we're saying with Shepherd Ferry, but these are the kinds of things that are happening within a lot of AI art.
And also because it was made with a tool. It was like just someone that made something from scratch. Like this person, Daniel, they made the image with a website. Like the Deep Dream website is like if you did something there and then you publish it and then somebody takes it and paints it, then are they in the right to paint it and then like to exhibit it? There's also the ethics in there, like what is wrong, what is right, and if the creator using a tool that they didn't like make or so that's the thing that there's still, like Moises said, a gap between those concepts.
And just to point out too, so there's this historical pattern that when a new technology comes out, there's a renaissance of art that expands the definition of appropriation in art. So thinking about other technologies in the past, even like the camera, that at one point painters, they wouldn't even call it art. They were like, this is something else. You're just using this machine. The machine's creating everything for you. There's no art to taking a photograph. And a lot of the backlash that you might hear about AI artworks is the same. It's like, oh, all AI art looks the same, or they don't even code with their own tools. What's artistic about it if all they're doing is putting text into, an input box?
So the thing is that even in fine arts, you can deal with people that say, oh, that painting is not art because it's not hyper realistic, or oh, that paint is not a paint, like it's not real art because you can see the brush stroke, or oh no, like there are always gonna be people that they're not gonna be happy with the art you can make. When I was at college, I was painting and I was using a projector. So when my classmates saw that, they were like, oh no, that's not a painting because you're projecting something on it. And I was like, so what? So you can use whatever you want to make art because you're never gonna have anyone happy with it. So painters were not happy with film, and now film is not happy with digital cameras, and then digital cameras are not happy with cell phones, and there's gonna be always something that is gonna be not better but easier to use. So, and I don't know if you know that Caravaggio used to use this huge lens to make this projections over his paintings, and that's why he didn't have any he doesn't have any these drawings before the paintings. So there's sketches. He doesn't have any of that because he was all the time copying the image, but the lenses, what it did, it was that it was like a mirror. So if you can see, in a lot of paintings at that time, a lot of people is left-handed, and usually people left-handed at that time, they were looked like devils and stuff. But the thing is that the left-handed is because they are a mirror in the painting because of the lens that they use. That they used usually Caravaggio and other painters, and so that's why it's not cheating if you use technology to make your art. So that's something that you should know. I don't know if you are completely digital, or if you guys paint or make sculptures or something. I just wanted to let you know that it's okay if you use technology to make your art.
Yeah, and just one thing we had to clarify. So in that last slide, the logo right there is called Runway. So Runway is an AI tool. It's all web-based, runwayml.com, where you can play around with these AI tools there with no coding involved. You just have to sign up, you get a few credits, and you're able to do things like this, where you can, with your face, control the image of, let's say, the Mona Lisa, and drive it with your face. They have other tools. We won't show too much of it, but they have other tools where you can very quickly click maybe 2-4 times in the subject of a video, and it'll automatically mask the whole video. Like you can easily remove the background. You can even remove, like if a car is showing up in your video, you just mask it out like in one single frame, and it'll remove the car from the whole video. So we'll discuss more about it, but these are the kind of tools that are both accelerating, the cutting edge of where art can go, but also are kind of pushing it other boundaries of like, hey, this is what I do. Like now you're automating it. How does that, what's going to happen to my job or things like that. And this is a quote from Jason Bailey, who writes a lot in this space. Even when training models using your own materials and avoiding appropriation, the process of using neural networks to create art is still ultimately one of remixing. So there's still that same pattern. It's still the same trend, and it's just pushing where it's headed and being just aware of it. Some artists might argue and point out that neural networks are creating entirely new works, not remixing old ones. But there is no doubt that the visual materials that artists select and train the models with have a big impact on the final result.
Well, then tell them about the Picasso.
So in this case, it would be if you train the model entirely on the whole over of Picasso, like every painting he made, and then you made a machine learning model called like AI Picasso, like, is that okay? Like, should you receive credit? Should you be selling AI Picassos? Like, what is the tension there and the ethics around it? It is this process in particular, radical remixing. So he's trying to coin this term, radical remixing, that AI is kind of helping us do. And in the sense that it's a very different from traditional visual remixing through techniques such as collage or even sampling music. And you can see in that right side area where like now that top painting can turn into like a hyper realistic person just by putting that image through one of these machine learning models. Once you see the pattern of appropriation and remixing present in the work of AI art pioneers, it will be easier to imagine what this would look like once the tools become more accessible to artists and designers in general. And that's a lot of what's happening in the past year, pretty much. I believe it will start a new aesthetic revolution that will change the world through art, advertising, and political propaganda, all based largely on the mass appropriation and radical blending of visual images. So just another example of what you can kind of see in this matrix here. We have the original image at the top, this driving video source being Obama, and the machine learning model is able to tunify the original photo and then match it to the face of the driving video. And this might just be a filter on Instagram now, but this wasn't the case when it first started. And it's kind of all blending together into your everyday, into your smartphone, into Gmail perhaps, or Zoom.
So now we're gonna present you some AI ML artists. I know that we're running out of time and that you guys, like some of you need to leave. So we can like, who can stay? So you can just see more, or are we should we keep going, or can we send you the PowerPoint slides?
We can share some links that you mentioned.
Sure.
Maybe there's since we have 5 minutes, we can talk. Maybe there's some questions.
Yes.
Q&A.
Yeah, sure.
Talk to each other. How about that? Maybe open it up for discussion. I might turn on the light, and then
Sure.
actually then people in the Zoom can see you better.
I think it's just one person there. Oh no. I'm sorry.
Here, wait, okay, so lights are back. So what questions are coming up? Or maybe you got questions for us? You posed a few really good ones about ethics and things like that. So I'm just curious if what's coming up for people.
So what do you think of deepfake?
The deepfakes. What do I think about I think they are super dangerous. And I think that they could be a good way to make, like, for example, like movies with people that already died, and that to try to replicate them and put them like iconic persons, like, I don't know, like Princess Leia, when like, yeah, like she died, and well, she needed to finish the movie, but she couldn't because she died. And also Dumbledore from Harry Potter, he also died. So I don't see a problem with that because it continues the story. But the thing is that the deep fake porn is horrible, and it's really dangerous, and it hurts the woman, because it's usually women that are targeted with the deep fake porn. So I think it's really important to the AI ethics is, I think that the boundaries there and the limits is when you don't, when if you start hurting people, then that's like out of the question. Like, you are not being ethical, and if you start hurting people with technology, is not ethical, and then you should stop. That's what I think.
Yeah, and at the same time, like things like deepfake are completely accessible on your smartphone now. You can just download a deepfake app pretty much and put your face in, you know, many movie characters, like share it as an Insta story or something else. So it's still a tool that you're empowered with, and then you can decide to use it for good, for harm. And I think in the film industry specifically, it's like leveraging a lot of budgets that were given to people, and you just kind of need less production budget to do certain things. Yeah.
I think there was a
question?
question from the audience. Jonathan Perez, Professor Perez is in the other building, but.
Cool.
Are we gonna hear him?
No, I think we can hear you.
Oh, can you see us or no?
Yes.
This is
Hi.
a digital imaging class, and we just listened to your talk. We enjoyed it quite a bit. And if you do send a PowerPoint version, we would love to also be able to see that for the names of artists and things too. But I think everybody's a little bit shy, and if they want to ask a question, you should while we're here. But I can just offer this question. So I'm thinking about the legal scholar of like media authoring, Dan Burke, and he talks about, for example, on this question of like expressivity and authorship, like we never ask the question, right? Like whether the pencil is an author, for example. And so I'm asking, I guess, like, what's your personal take? Like after, you know, years of dealing with these tools, working on the more hardcore coder side, as well as like the more kind of mainstream no coding tools, like what's your personal take on this idea of authorship? And maybe if you want to speak to ethics and stuff involved. And the other question is like, has it evolved through using the actual tools? Or do you kind of feel the same way that you feel before you even began the process of working with these tools?
That's a good question. Should I answer?
Sure.
Well, for me, I think that tools are getting easier, but not the knowledge of how these tools work. So I don't know if someone like here have heard of BQGAN or like DALI or Clip. Those are, though, like people can use those tools, and even on your cell phone. Like a few months ago, you couldn't have them on your phone, and now you can have them. But people using them, they don't know where it comes from. So like, why is the question would be also like, is it important for people to learn beyond what they are just using with interfaces? Or like, are they willing to learn more? Because if they do, like what's for, like if the art is going to be better of, or if it's going to make a change. Like I can really answer that question right now, but I think as I see it, it's like when a painter used to make their own paints, like their own pigments, or with oil and like from scratch, and now you can just buy the oil and then you can just paint it with it. So what's the difference, like knowing more about some tools, and if you don't do it from scratch? I think there's nothing bad, but I don't think that art's going to be better or not better if they know more or not.
Yeah, I think the image or the message you're trying to get across would still ultimately be the deciding point. Like, and something like Instagram or Twitter is like a good space to leverage to measure that, because someone will say to you like, hey, this just looks like a copy of, you know, a real Picasso painting, and they'll call you out. So I think there's like the art Turing test, where someone will say like whether that's just art made by an AI or that has like an extra layer to it that makes it more artistic. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely thought about, you know, you can turn in an essay using GPT-3. Like, you know, how are we going to combat that? Like, it's still, I think, all up to debate. But the more we expose the technologies and kind of see where it might go, it's going to be easier to like discern how to go about it.
Thank you.
Oh, there's another question.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think.
I have another question. When you talk about tools, benefits similar to what Fereshteh was talking about. Because I remember a lot, I don't know if you've seen the Netflix show Love, Death and Robots.
Oh yeah.
That so Sanabria.
Oh, I love that.
I love that one as well. Yes. It's one of my favorites. So it's very interesting, like just have perspective on that. Like when you does the two become the other one, the other? Is it unconsciousness in a way? Because as you say, for the AI, you turn it into a certain aspect of images, music, sounds, or even techniques, so it can develop something new. So is it a similar process to how you teach a person in a way? As you were talking about general AI, narrow AI. So I want to say when I don't know, I think that there already is in a way the ethical discussion of the use of this medium. When does it stop being a medium? A problem of so I don't know if yeah, I know, but it's like because everything is developing so fast. When do you think this case is going to be more strong?
You're welcome. Thank you.
I just remember the two Facebook robots that they had to shut down because they were speaking to each other.
Oh, yes.
So I'm like,
It's amazing. But right now, those were not like AIs. They were just like chatbots, but they are learning. And the thing is that right now we're not at the point of leaving the strong AI. That I think that's what you mean, like, because it's narrow AI, general AI, and then strong AI. And the strong AI is the one that like tries to imitate human behavior, such as reasoning. Like right now, an AI can be out, like can't reason like a human. It like not yet. And right now it's just like learning how to be better, but it doesn't have any consciousness, and it doesn't have like anything you have seen in sci-fi of the androids and robots, and that they start like feeling and like they can think for themselves and make decisions. Like that we're not at that point, and I don't know when we're gonna be, but the technology is like getting like just so fast right now. And I don't know, 10 years ago I couldn't think about having a smartphone, because like in Mexico there were not, like there was just a BlackBerry, and you could just send an email. Yeah, so it's okay. Thank you.
So I know some people, we lost a lot of people, so maybe we can, if anyone wants to stick around and chat. There's some people on the Zoom saying they weren't hearing the question, so. Also, I just want to take a moment to thank you for being here.
Thank you for staying.
Yeah, there's another audience in the other room clapping also.
Oh, so the question, it was like if AI, it's gonna not just be a tool, if it's gonna be like something stronger, or like if it's if the AI, it's gonna be an artist like by itself someday, and that's why my answer was that. So I don't know if that it's clear for you. Yes.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, if there's any other questions, if you can just repeat them, it's very helpful for us. Thank you.
another question?
No, see, if someone is saying a question, repeat it.
Oh, okay. No, right now they're just leaving.
Okay, I think, yeah, let's just hang out if anyone wants to hang out. I will turn on my camera just to say, thank you for coming, and thank you to our artists, and I will share any documentation we have. So grateful that you were able to attend. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you very much.